It was one of those quiet, muddy afternoons. The rain had passed, but the streets were flooded with puddles and silence. On a worn wooden bench near the road sat Papa Thomas, an old man known in the neighborhood for his gentle heart. His clothes were faded, patched in places. His slippers barely clung to his feet. Yet his face carried peace, the kind you only earn through a humble life. He had just finished sweeping the front of a small shop. Not because he was paid, but because he always did what he could. He rested on the bench, hands folded, watching the world go by. Suddenly, a black Range Rover roared through the narrow road. It didn't slow. It hit a puddle full speed. Muddy water sprayed high and hard, drenching Papa Thomas from head to toe. Gasp followed. He blinked, water dripping down his face. His shirt clung to him, trousers soaked, slippers squelching. He looked down. Said nothing. "Hey! Look what you did," a woman shouted. The car rolled forward, then stopped. The window slid down. A sharp, cold voice spoke. "You shouldn't sit so close to the road, old man. This isn't your village." And just like that, the window rolled up, and the car drove off. Silence. "Did she really say that?" someone whispered. "She didn't even say sorry," another snapped. Papa Thomas never harms anyone. Still dripping, Papa Thomas raised one trembling hand. "Leave her," he said softly. "Let God judge." Vanessa, the woman in the black Range Rover, arrived at an upscale shopping mall that afternoon. The marble floors gleamed under her high heels, and soft classical music echoed through the hallways. As she stepped through the glass doors, her phone buzzed. With a practiced smile, she pulled it out, struck a confident pose, and snapped a selfie. A moment later, it was online. Caption: "Only the strong walk over the weak. Boss Queen." Within minutes, comments flooded in. "Slay, Queen. Show them who's boss. Power moves." She smirked as she scrolled, basking in admiration. To her, what happened earlier was trivial. That old man. Just another weak voice in a world she believed was built for the powerful. She had no guilt, only pride. In her mind, stepping over others wasn't wrong, it was necessary. It was how you rose. Her success, she believed, was born from crushing those who stood in her way. Meanwhile, miles away, Papa Thomas returned home. His steps were tired but measured. The gate creaked softly as he entered the compound, a sharp contrast to the neighborhoods he visited each day. Because beyond that gate was a mansion. Though he dressed modestly and lived simply, his son, Bernard, was a wealthy man. The living room was vast, with polished floors, soft Persian rugs, and artwork that cost more than some families made in a year. But none of it ever impressed the old man. Bernard sat on a leather couch, tablet in hand, when he noticed his father walk in. "Papa, what happened to your shirt?" he asked. "Looks like you had another bad day." Papa Thomas lowered himself onto the couch gently and shook his head. "Bernard, I saw the most disrespectful woman today." Bernard sighed. "Again, Papa. Why do you keep doing this? Why sit out there with those people? You live in a mansion now. You have everything." Papa Thomas turned to him, his eyes calm but deep. "I will never stop, Bernard. Not until..." Papa Thomas looked Bernard straight in the eyes. "I found a good woman for you." Bernard nearly dropped his tablet. "Papa, again with this?" "Yes," the old man replied firmly. "You're 36 already. It's time. You need a wife, not just someone to enjoy your wealth with, but someone to build life with." Bernard ran a hand over his forehead and sighed. "Papa, I already have a girlfriend." Papa Thomas leaned forward, surprised. "You do?" "Yes. I've been seeing someone for a while now." "Then why keep it from me all this time?" "I didn't want to rush things," Bernard said. "But now that you're bringing it up again, maybe it's time." The old man's eyes lit up with curiosity. "So who is she? Where is she from? What does she do?" Bernard smiled faintly. You'll meet her soon. Don't worry, she's very beautiful. Papa Thomas raised a brow. Beauty is not everything, my son. I know, Papa, but there's a problem. What kind of problem? Bernard hesitated, his voice low. She's rude, Papa. Very rude. Papa Thomas sat back slowly. She talks down to people, Bernard continued. She's proud. She believes everyone is beneath her. And the worst part, she throws money around like it's nothing. I give her something small, she spends it all on bags, shoes, clothes, just to show off. Papa Thomas was silent, his hands resting in his lap. He didn't judge, just listened. So why are you still with her? He asked softly. Bernard looked away, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know. Maybe because she's beautiful. Maybe because I thought I could change her. She's smart too, and when she wants to be, she can be kind. The old man nodded slowly. But kindness that has to be forced is not real kindness. Bernard looked at his father with tired eyes. I guess I wanted her to be something she's not. Papa Thomas sighed. Sometimes, son, love isn't about who dazzles your eyes, but who calms your soul. Sometimes, Bernard began hesitantly, when she's calm, she's sweet, but when she gets angry or feels insulted, she becomes someone else entirely. His father was silent for a moment, then asked quietly, Does she respect you? Bernard hesitated. Sometimes. Does she respect herself? Papa Thomas pressed gently. Bernard didn't answer. Papa Thomas sighed deeply and leaned forward. Bernard, listen to me. I've watched women all my life, how they walk, how they talk, the way they carry themselves. You need a woman who brings peace into your home, not noise. Someone who helps you grow, not someone who wastes what you've worked so hard for. Bernard nodded slowly, his voice soft but sure. I know, Papa. You're right. The old man's eyes gleamed with wisdom. Then bring her home. Let me see her with my own eyes. I want to talk to her. Look into her soul. If I see humility, I will bless your union. But if I see pride, I will tell you the truth, no matter how hard it is to hear. Bernard smiled faintly. Okay, Papa. I'll talk to her. Maybe she can come over this weekend. Good, Papa Thomas said. But don't tell her anything special. Let her come as she is. I want to meet the real woman, not the one she puts on in public. Bernard chuckled. You want to surprise her? No, his father answered calmly. I want her to surprise herself. As Bernard stood to get a glass of water, Papa Thomas watched him with quiet concern. He was proud of his son, smart, successful, kind. But love could make even the wisest man blind. Later, on another hot afternoon, Papa Thomas sat quietly, thinking. Outside a large supermarket, under the hot afternoon sun, Papa Thomas sat quietly on the sidewalk. His clothes were simple, worn from years of hard living. A plastic bowl lay in front of him, waiting, not demanding, just waiting. Some kind-hearted passers-by dropped small coins in the bowl, while many others didn't even glance his way. He never begged. He just sat. Then came the sudden roar of a black Range Rover stopping sharply right in front of him. Vanessa stepped out, her dark glasses hiding her eyes. Loud music thumped inside the car, a stark contrast to the quiet dignity of the old man. She sneered, striding closer. You again, she snapped. You, this old, dirty-smelling man. Why do you keep disgracing your generation like this? Papa Thomas didn't respond. Do you enjoy sitting here like some goat? Vanessa spat, her voice dripping with contempt. Poor people like you have no shame. She glanced down at his clothes and then at his face, voice filled with venom. Useless man. Maybe you're cursed. Still, the old man said nothing. You're the reason Nigeria is backward, she continued cruelly. You sit here waiting for help instead of dying quietly. She spat near his feet. You make me sick. At that moment, a young woman carrying 2 heavy grocery bags stepped out of the supermarket. She paused, watching the scene unfold, then set her bags down with quiet determination. Enough, she said firmly. Vanessa turned, narrowing her eyes. And who are you? Someone who still has sense, the woman replied. Vanessa laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Another poor rat trying to feel important. You're insulting an old man for no reason, the young woman said sharply. What has he done to you? He exists, Vanessa backed back. That's what he did. Poor, dirty men like him shouldn't be outside. The young woman took a step forward, her gaze steady and unwavering. Mary took a confident step forward. He's old enough to be your father. Vanessa snapped back, so. Is he my father? Look at him. Probably your father. You both look poor. Mary's eyes narrowed. Yes, maybe he is. But at least he's not empty inside like you. Vanessa laughed coldly. Do you know who I am? Do you know who my boyfriend is? I can get you arrested in 2 minutes. Mary didn't flinch. Arrest me for telling you to respect an old man. Vanessa yelled, I'm rich. I can do anything. No, you're just loud. Not rich in character, Mary fired back. You're jealous of me, Vanessa sneered. I'm clean. I'm classy. Mary scoffed, you're just noisy lipstick and nothing more. Vanessa's face shifted, the laughter gone. She stepped forward, voice sharp. You dare talk to me like that? Yes, Mary said calmly. Because no one ever taught you how to behave. You will regret this, Vanessa. You will. Mary pointed firmly. Take your proud legs and leave. Vanessa's hands trembled. Her lips pressed tight, her face flushed red. Then, without a word, she turned, stormed to her car, slammed the door, and sped off. Mary turned gently to Papa Thomas. Sorry, sir. He looked at her with kind eyes. Thank you, my daughter. She smiled. I couldn't let her speak to you like that. He nodded slowly. These days, not many people stand up like you did. Mary glanced around, then moved closer. Papa Thomas blinked slowly, his eyes misting over. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, with a voice cracked by both age and emotion, he whispered, no one has ever offered me something like this, not in a very long time. Mary smiled softly. Then let's do it together, Papa. I know it's not much, but it's a start. I don't want to wait for the government or for some miracle job. I want to grow something with my hands. And I want you to eat from it. He stared at her, his heart swelling with something he hadn't felt in years, hope. Tomorrow, he said at last, his voice firmer now, we'll wake up early. I'll show you the back of the store. It's just dry ground now, but with your knowledge and my hands, maybe we can make it come alive. Mary nodded, her eyes shining. We will, Papa. We will. And as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting golden rays over the two unlikely companions sitting side by side on that dusty bench, something quietly began to bloom, not in the soil yet, but in the soul. The seed of purpose. A bond of dignity. And the beginning of something beautiful. You're too kind, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. She gently shook her head, eyes warm. No, Papa. I just believe that when someone is good, truly good, they deserve a hand too. He looked at her, his weathered face showing surprise. You barely know me. She smiled, a smile that carried quiet strength. I know enough. You said nothing when that woman insulted you. That silence, it spoke louder than any defense. It told me everything. Papa Thomas blinked, slowly smiling. You're different. I try, she said simply. He gave a small nod. I'll think about it. Mary grinned, her voice playful. Think fast, Papa. We can start with something simple. Just a small basket of okra. Even a seed changes something. Their laughter mingled gently, filling the air with something warm and real. Mary stood, lifting her bags with practiced ease. She waved. Okay, Papa. I'll see you tomorrow. He nodded. I'll be here. Good, she said, eyes twinkling. Don't go missing on me. She turned and walked off, her steps light, her spirit lighter still. Papa Thomas sat back, eyes tracing her fading figure. And then, deep in his chest, something moved. Not guilt. Not sorrow. It was hope. The kind he hadn't felt in years. He glanced at the sky, and whispered, almost to himself, Lord, could she be the one? Later, he entered his house with a quiet joy, the heavy wooden door closing behind him. He slipped off his sandals. The cool air wrapped around him like an old friend. His son sat silently in the living room. Papa Thomas cleared his throat. Bernard. Yes, Papa. I met someone today. Bernard looked up. Who? Papa Thomas walked over and sat beside him. His voice softened. Bernard, today I met the most beautiful, respectful, and kind-hearted woman I've ever seen. Bernard raised an eyebrow. Really? Papa Thomas nodded slowly. Yes. And I'm not talking about makeup or hair or fancy shoes. I'm talking about something deeper, a heart. A clean heart. A woman with sense, dignity, and courage. Bernard leaned back, curious. Okay, what happened? Papa Thomas took a breath. I was outside the supermarket. That same proud woman came again, the one who always looks at me like I'm dirt. Today, she opened her mouth and poured out every kind of insult she could think of. Bernard's jaw clenched. Again. Yes, Papa Thomas said, but his tone was different now. But today, something changed. Before I could even respond, a young woman, someone I'd never seen before, stood up for me. She did. Bernard's voice was low, surprised. Yes. She faced that rude woman without fear. She didn't raise her voice, didn't act wild or angry. But her words, they were strong. Full of fire, yet clean. Full of truth. She spoke with the kind of wisdom that hushes a storm. That proud woman couldn't say a word back. She turned and walked away, ashamed. Bernard was silent, letting it sink in. Papa Thomas continued, his voice softer. After that, she came and sat beside me. No pride, no rush. She looked me in the eyes and asked if I was okay, like I was someone who mattered. Bernard looked up. What's her name? Mary. Mary. Yes, Papa Thomas smiled. I told her the truth, that I was just an old man with no home. She didn't flinch. She didn't laugh. She didn't look away. What did she say? She looked right at me and said, Papa, I can help you. Just like that. No pity. Just heart. Bernard stared at his father, amazed. And she's educated too, Papa Thomas added. A graduate. Studied agriculture. But still no job. I found a good woman for you, Papa said. Bernard dropped the tablet. Papa, again with this. Yes, Papa Thomas insisted. You're 36. You need a wife, someone to build life with, not just enjoy what you already have. Bernard sighed. I have a girlfriend. Papa turned quickly. You do? Yes. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to rush things. But since you brought it up, yes. She's beautiful. Beauty isn't everything, Papa replied. I know. But she's rude, Papa. She talks down to people. She's proud, wasteful. I give her money, she buys bags, shoes, things she doesn't need. Papa shook his head. Then why are you still with her? Maybe I thought I could change her. She's smart too. Papa leaned back. Let me tell you something. I met a woman today who changed my day. That same rude girl insulted me again. But before I could speak, a young woman stepped in. Calm, but strong. She silenced the proud girl with wisdom, not noise. Bernard looked curious. Who was she? Her name is Mary, Papa smiled. She sat with me, treated me with dignity. I told her I was homeless. She didn't laugh. She said, Papa, I can help you. She's a graduate in agriculture. No job. But she wants to start a farm with me. Papa, are you serious? Very. Farming brings me peace. You told me to stop, but it gives me purpose. Mary reminded me of who I used to be. That girl is gold, Bernard. Not rich in money, but rich in heart. Bernard was quiet, then said, Papa, my girlfriend is coming tomorrow. Papa leaned back. And what do you want me to do with that information? Bernard sat quietly, the air thick between him and Papa Thomas. She wants to meet you, he muttered. That's none of my business, the old man said sharply. Because today, I met a woman who reminded me that kindness still exists. A girl who respected me, not because she knew who I was, but because that's who she is. Bernard looked away, ashamed. Your girlfriend might be coming tomorrow, Papa Thomas continued. But today, I met the kind of woman this world desperately needs. Silence filled the room. I've been watching you, the old man said softly. You're rich, yes. But you're alone. You have houses, but no joy. Friends, but no peace. A wife should bring peace, Bernard. Not noise. Not pride. Not trouble. I understand, Papa. No. You don't, he replied calmly. You say you have a girlfriend. But I've never met her. Don't know where she's from, what she believes in, how she treats people. You say she's beautiful, and that's fine. But can beauty feed the heart? Bernard clenched his jaw. When I was young, Papa Thomas said, eyes distant, I wanted to marry the most beautiful girl in our village. My mother warned me. I didn't listen. She had the face of an angel, but the tongue of a lion. She nearly destroyed my soul. What happened? Bernard asked quietly. She left me, he said. And it was the best thing that ever happened. That's when I met your mother. She wasn't the prettiest. But her heart was clean, her hands were strong, and her love built this family. Bernard's eyes welled up. So you're saying Mary is? I'm not saying anything yet, Papa Thomas interrupted. All I'm saying is, open your eyes, son. Sometimes, what you need doesn't shine. It heals. Just don't bring me noise tomorrow and expect me to smile, Papa Thomas said, his voice steady. Because I already met peace today. Bernard nodded slowly, swallowing hard. Okay, Papa, he said. Let your girlfriend come. Let her show me who she really is. But I won't pretend. If I see pride, I'll tell her. Right to her face. Bernard stood there, silently. I respect that, he said quietly. Papa Thomas gave a small smile. Good. I've done my part. Tomorrow, we'll see. The next morning arrived quietly. The sun rose slowly, but Papa Thomas was already up. He had bathed, dressed in his simple, clean clothes, and sat in the living room. His face was calm, but his heart stirred. He wasn't thinking about the girl coming. He was thinking about Mary. He could still hear her voice. Papa, I can help you. That memory made him smile. Then came the sound of footsteps. Bernard walked in and stood beside him. Papa. Yes. She's on her way. Papa Thomas didn't look up. Let her come. Minutes later, a car drove into the compound. The engine stopped. Papa Thomas didn't flinch. The door opened. Heels clicked loudly across the floor. A woman entered with long strides and lifted chin. Handbags swayed on her arm like trophies. Her gaze swept across the room. This place is nice, she said. Not as modern as mine, but okay. Her eyes landed on the old man seated on the couch. She stopped. Her smile faltered. Her eyes widened. Papa Thomas looked straight at her. Silent. Come. Bernard, standing in between them, turned nervously. Papa, this is... Kindness doesn't depend on who's watching. Vanessa's eyes welled up. Please, sir. I'm sorry. Papa Thomas shook his head slowly. You're not sorry for what you did. You're only sorry because of who I am. Bernard stood still, breathing hard, eyes no longer soft. You told me you were bored, he said, voice low. You said you loved me. I do, Bernard. No, he cut in. You love yourself. Because the woman who truly loves me would never disrespect my father. Vanessa's face crumbled. She dropped her bag. Please, Bernard. He looked at her one last time, a long, heavy gaze, then turned away. Papa, he whispered, I've made a mistake. Vanessa stepped forward to Papa Thomas, trembling. Please, forgive me. He looked at her quietly. Forgiveness is easy, he said, but trust, that's different. You had a chance to show who you really are, and you did. She wiped her tears. I can change. He nodded. Good. Start by changing how you treat people who can do nothing for you. She picked up her bag. Her heels echoed through the hallway, fading into silence. Papa Thomas slowly sat down. Bernard came beside him. Papa. Yes. Mary, where is she now? Thomas smiled gently. She's coming to see me at the supermarket tomorrow. The next morning, Bernard left the house quietly. He needed air. Needed space. The silence of the streets wrapped around him, but inside, everything screamed. Vanessa's words. Her laughter. Her cruelty. Just a beggar. He couldn't unhear it. He couldn't believe the woman he once called his future had mocked the man who gave him everything. And now, all he could do was walk. Walk away from what could have been, and maybe, towards something better. Bernard smiled, genuinely intrigued. Agriculture. That's rare these days. She nodded, brushing soil off her fingers. It's my passion. I believe we should feed ourselves with our own hands, not just depend on markets. He found himself relaxing, listening to her voice, calm and sincere. What's your name? He asked. Mary, she said, offering her hand. His heart paused for a second. Mary. Could it be? I'm Bernard, he said, shaking her hand gently. Papa Thomas, he mentioned a Mary. She raised an eyebrow. You're Papa Thomas's son. He nodded slowly. You know him. She smiled warmly. He comes here often. Buys fruits, talks to the old sellers, gives kind advice. He's like a father to the whole neighborhood. Bernard blinked. This woman, is that Mary? Wait, you're the Mary who told him, I can help you. She looked surprised, then laughed lightly. I didn't know he remembered that. Yes, I told him that one day. He looked tired, so I offered to help him with his bags. He told me I had a kind heart. Since then, we've talked every time he passes. Bernard's heart felt a strange peace. No makeup. No heels. No attitude. Just warmth, honesty, and humility. She noticed his long gaze and looked away, slightly shy. Is everything okay? He stood and smiled. Yes. Everything is finally making sense. Just then, her phone rang. She picked it up and smiled. Yes, Papa, I'll be there in 10 minutes. She looked at Bernard. That was your father. He wants me to meet him at the supermarket. Bernard chuckled. Let's go together. As they walked side by side, the breeze picked up again. Bernard glanced at her simple dress, her calloused hands, and that sincere smile. In that moment, he realized, love doesn't need luxury. It needs truth. And Mary. She was truth wrapped in grace. No job yet, Mary said, dropping her bag and extending her hand. But I have hands and a strong back. Bernard took her hand firmly. I'm Bernard. She smiled warmly. I'm Mary. They both laughed softly. She settled on a nearby rock, gazing thoughtfully. I'm trying to help an old man. He has no real home but is kind and wise. He reminds me of my father. Bernard's eyes widened. Really? I met him yesterday. He was being insulted by a woman. I couldn't keep quiet, so I stood up for him. Mary's voice softened. After all the drama, I found out he doesn't beg for money. He just sits quietly, watching the world go by. So I told him I'd help start a small farm. At least that way, he can eat fresh food and feel useful. Bernard looked at her with respect. She didn't brag or shout, her words carried peace. I wish more people thought like you, he said. Mary laughed. We're out here, hidden. She glanced around the quiet spot. You live nearby? Bernard nodded. I take the bus from the other side of town. It's not easy, but I can't stay home doing nothing. Bernard smiled. I admire that. She looked at him, curious. What do you do? He hesitated. Business. Mary laughed. Or, business, the favorite Nigerian word. They both chuckled. I won't ask too many questions, she said, but you look like someone with a lot on his mind. Bernard smiled weakly. You're right. Mary stood up and stretched. Well, I should get going. But I hope to see you around. Bernard watched her walk away, feeling a warmth he hadn't expected. Maybe, just maybe, hope was growing here, quiet, simple, and strong. To start, he asked, his voice trembling with a mix of excitement and disbelief. Tomorrow morning, Mary said with a smile. I already started preparing today. I even met someone unexpected. Papa Thomas looked at her with gentle curiosity. Someone? Yes, she nodded. A man. He was just sitting there quietly under a mango tree. Looked like he was carrying the weight of the world. But he helped me plant okra. He didn't say much about himself, but there was sadness in his eyes, and something else. Like he was trying to remember how to breathe. Papa Thomas chuckled softly. Life brings strange meetings. Sometimes the soil brings together more than just seeds. Mary smiled at that. Maybe. He seemed kind. Lost, but kind. Papa Thomas took her hand gently, the kind ones often carry the heaviest hearts. You did well, my daughter. Not just for me, but for whoever that young man is. Sometimes a seed is all someone needs, not just in the ground, but in their soul. They both sat there, as the evening sun painted the sky in orange and gold. A quiet hope bloomed between them, as simple and profound as the okra growing in the soil. Tomorrow, the farm would grow. And perhaps, so would Bernard. Mary smiled wide. Tomorrow morning, if you're ready. Papa Thomas paused, then gently shook his head. No, he said softly. Mary's smile faded. Why not, Papa? I thought we were going to the farm. He looked at her, eyes warm but serious. Because, you're coming to my house tomorrow. She blinked. Your house? But Papa, you said you sleep in a shop. He smiled, that mysterious twinkle in his eye. Just come. I'll explain everything. Mary raised an eyebrow, playfully suspicious. Papa, are you hiding something? I'm hiding peace, he chuckled. You'll understand tomorrow. She laughed, shaking her head. So when are we going to the farm then? Let's go by the weekend, he said calmly. She nodded. Okay. But Papa, you're full of surprises. He reached into his pocket and handed her a small folded paper. That's the address. Don't be late. Mary took it, glanced at the faded writing, and smiled. Now I'm really curious. She hesitated, then looked down shyly. Papa. I also met someone today. Papa Thomas leaned forward. Who? Her cheeks flushed. Just someone, a man. He raised a brow. He's very handsome, but more than that, he's kind. Gentle. Humble. I like him. Papa's eyes widened with delight. Oh, who could this be? I want to see him. You know I'm your second father now. Mary giggled. No, Papa, it's not like that. We are just friends, for now. He leaned back, smiling knowingly. Sometimes, friendship is the soil where love grows. She looked away, blushing. Papa. But the moment held a warmth and unspoken magic. The evening air wrapped around them like an old song, and for the first time in a long time, both felt something stirring, peace, joy, and the soft rhythm of hope. Stood there in disbelief. Am I in the right place? She murmured to herself. The gate was tall, majestic, and far too elegant to match anything she imagined Papa Thomas would call home. Just then, the gate slowly opened with a soft mechanical hum. A guard stepped out and asked politely, "Are you Miss Mary?" "Yes," she said, still unsure. "You're expected. Please come in." She walked slowly through the gate, eyes wide as she took in the manicured garden, the glistening white tiles of the driveway, and the towering mansion ahead. A fountain sparkled under the morning sun. "This can't be real," she whispered. The front door opened, and Papa Thomas stood there, not in his usual warm clothes, but in a crisp white shirt and tailored trousers. He looked younger somehow, stronger. Mary froze. "Papa, this is your house." He chuckled warmly. "Welcome, my daughter. Come in." Inside, the house was even more breathtaking, golden light filtered through high windows, paintings hung on the walls, and everything smelled like fresh lilies and new beginnings. As they entered the sitting room, Mary's eyes landed on someone rising from a velvet couch. It was him. Bernard. He froze too. "You," they both said at once. Papa Thomas smiled, holding back laughter. "Now, you both see. The world is smaller than we think." Mary's cheeks flushed with surprise. Bernard's eyes lit up with something more than coincidence. She looked at Papa Thomas with a mix of wonder and disbelief. "You knew?" "I hoped," he said gently. "Two good souls were bound to meet. I just wanted you both to see each other clearly, without names, titles, or expectations." Silence hung in the room, soft, magical, full of possibility. Mary finally smiled. "So, this is where we begin." Papa Thomas nodded. "Yes, my daughter. This is just the beginning." "Here?" she asked, still stunned. Bernard nodded slowly, his expression gentle. "Yes, Mary, this is my home." She blinked, struggling to connect the man she met at the farm with the man standing before her now. "But, you said you were just passing by." "I was," he replied softly. "But not by accident. I go there often, not to show who I am, but to remember what matters." Before she could respond, a warm voice came from behind Bernard. "Mary, you came." It was Papa Thomas, stepping out with a knowing smile on his face. Mary turned, her mind spinning. "Papa, you live here too?" The old man chuckled. "Let's just say, I don't sleep in the shop anymore." Bernard stepped beside Mary, his voice low and sincere. "Papa Thomas is my father. I didn't plan for you to meet me like this, but he wanted you to know the truth." Mary stood there, heart pounding, a mix of confusion and awe in her eyes. "Why didn't you just tell me?" "Because I wanted you to like me for who I was, not what I have," Bernard said. She looked at him, at Papa Thomas, then back at the beautiful home around her. Slowly, a smile crept onto her face. "You both are full of surprises." Papa Thomas laughed gently, putting an arm around her. "And it's just the beginning, my daughter. Today is not just about truth, it's about choices." Bernard reached out his hand. "So, Mary, will you stay for breakfast? There's a garden at the back, and I'd really like you to see it." She looked at him, then at the open door behind him, into a life she never imagined, yet somehow felt safe in. With a smile, she placed her hand in his. "Lead the way." Papa Thomas nodded slowly, watching them with joy in his heart. Let tomorrow begin with love. Father would talk about at night the kind woman who helped him, who spoke to him with respect, who made him laugh. Mary, everything I felt for you was real. It is real. Mary stood still, her heart pounding, trying to make sense of it all. The man she liked was the son of the old man she helped. The man she thought was poor lived in a mansion. It felt like a dream or a movie. She looked at Papa Thomas again, her voice soft. Why me? The old man smiled, his eyes kind. Because you didn't just pass by, you paused. You listened. You cared. That's the kind of heart I want in my home, in my family. You reminded me that goodness still exists, not in riches, but in choices. Tears rolled down Mary's cheeks, but this time, they were not tears of confusion. They were tears of release, of knowing she had done something right without even knowing what it would lead to. Bernard took her hand gently. Mary, I don't care if you're a farmer or a queen. All I know is, I want to keep seeing your face every day. Papa Thomas looked at the two of them and smiled. Let this be the beginning, not just of truth, but of something beautiful. A story that started in the soil, but blossomed in the heart. And just like that, a new chapter quietly began, where love wasn't built on wealth or titles, but on simple moments, honest actions, and the courage to care. I cherish the way you smiled, the way you cared without expecting anything in return. His voice trembled slightly, but his eyes stayed steady on hers. I didn't know who you were, but I knew how you made me feel. Safe. Seen. Mary's chest rose and fell as if holding back 1,000 emotions at once. The room felt both too large and too small for everything she was feeling. She glanced away for a moment, blinking back tears, then looked back at Bernard. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything right now, Bernard said, gently taking her hand. Just stay. Let's figure this out together. No games. No lies. Just us. Mary smiled through her tears. You're sure about this? Bernard nodded. I've never been more sure of anything. Outside, the sky had turned golden, casting warm rays through the large windows. Inside that grand house, two hearts found peace, not in riches or secrets, but in truth, kindness, and love that had bloomed unexpectedly, rooted in simplicity, watered by sincerity. And though their story had only just begun, it already felt like the kind you tell your grandchildren about how love found them when they least expected it, in the most unexpected place. Tears brimming in her eyes. She couldn't speak, her heart felt too full. After a moment, she finally found her voice. You would do that, for my parents, she asked in disbelief. Bernard nodded, his expression unwavering. Not for them alone, for you, Mary. Because anyone who raised a woman like you deserves the world. They've given you love, and now it's my turn to give it back. Mary burst into tears and covered her face, overcome with emotion. Bernard gently pulled her into a warm embrace, holding her as she wept quietly on his shoulder. Through her tears, she whispered, "Thank you. I don't even have words." "You don't need words," he said softly, brushing her hair back. "Just promise to stay beside me, forever." She pulled back and looked into his eyes. "I promise." And in that moment, with hearts laid bare and futures entwined, two souls, once strangers, found their forever under the roof of a house built on truth, humility, and love. In a quiet corner of the bustling city, Bernard spoke with a calm yet fierce conviction. "I'm not just marrying you, Mary," he said, his voice steady. "I'm marrying into your family. And I will honor them as I honor my own father." Mary's hands froze. Tears welled up in her eyes, sparkling like tiny stars. "No one has ever said that to me before," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. Bernard gently wiped away her tears. "You're worth it, Mary. From today, your struggle is my struggle, and your joy will be my joy." News spread like wildfire through the city. Bernard, the quiet billionaire, was getting married. But not to a famous socialite or wealthy heiress, no, he was marrying a simple, kind-hearted woman named Mary. Some smiled, impressed by his choice. Others whispered behind closed doors, jealousy burning in their eyes. But no one was angrier than Vanessa. She heard the news at a spa from a careless friend. Bernard is marrying that girl, the one from the village. Vanessa's jaw clenched tight, her hands trembling with rage. He can't do this to me, she hissed, storming out. That very night, she called a man known in the shadows, Sko, a rough-looking enforcer with a reputation for dirty deeds. I want you to do something for me. Vanessa's voice was cold and sharp. Sko asked, what is it? I want you to plant hard drugs inside Bernard's office. Once the police find them, he'll be arrested, disgraced, and jailed. The wedding will fall apart, scattered like dust. Sko was silent. The dangerous game was set. But little did Vanessa know, true love and honor have a way of shining through the darkest storms. Vanessa's voice was cold and full of venom as she gave her cruel orders. And if you can finish the job, make sure that girl, Mary, never wakes up. And that ugly old man she calls father-in-law, gone. I never want to see his useless face again. Sko said nothing. The line went dead. Vanessa thought the plan was set in stone. But what she didn't know was that Sko had a secret. A debt of honor. Years ago, Bernard was the same man who had saved Sko's family. When Sko's elder sister was struggling, Bernard gave her a job when no one else would. When their mother was sick and the bills piled up, Bernard quietly paid every hospital expense. When the family was thrown out of their home, Bernard helped them pay rent. Sko sat alone that night, thinking hard. This is the man you want me to destroy, he whispered to himself. The man who saved my family. No. He couldn't do it. With a steady hand, Sko picked up his phone and called Vanessa back. But this time, he pressed record. Tell me the plan again. I need every detail, Sko said, calm but firm. Vanessa laughed, wicked and sure. She spilled every cruel word, how to plant the drugs, how to silence Mary and Papa Thomas forever before the wedding day. Sko listened quietly, saving every word. The next morning, he walked into Bernard's busy office. Bernard was swamped with wedding plans and work, barely noticing the visitor. Sko, Bernard said, eyes lighting up, do I know you? Sko nodded, steady and sincere. You helped my family when no one else would. I'm here to return the favor. Bernard's face softened, hope flickering. In the darkest moments, sometimes the light comes from the most unexpected places. Bernard looked confused but nodded. Go on, he said. Sko took a deep breath and played the recording on speaker. Vanessa's cold, wicked voice echoed clearly through the room, plotting his ruin, wishing death on Mary and his father. Bernard's face changed as he listened. His heart raced, his mouth hung open in shock. She really wanted to destroy us, Bernard whispered, disbelief shaking his voice. Sko nodded firmly. I couldn't let it happen. You don't deserve this. Bernard stood, shaking Sko's hand with deep gratitude. Thank you. You saved us. Hours later, the police moved in. Vanessa was arrested at a luxury restaurant, flaunting new clothes, unaware her time had run out. What is the meaning of this? She screamed, panic overtaking her. You're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, and drug framing, an officer said calmly. She screamed, cried, begged, but the law would not be swayed. In court, Vanessa appeared in a long black dress, trying desperately to look innocent. I don't know what you're talking about, she claimed, her voice trembling. I never said anything like that. The judge stared silently, then nodded to the officer. The recording played. Vanessa's voice filled the courtroom, uncensored, cruel, and shameless. She mocked Papa Thomas, called him ugly and poor. She insulted Mary and declared, I want her gone forever. When the recording ended, the courtroom fell into stunned silence. All eyes fixed on Vanessa. Her mouth dropped open. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't mean it. I was angry, she sobbed, the weight of her lies crushing her. But some sins cannot be erased with tea. The courtroom was heavy with silence as Vanessa's cries echoed, I was drunk, it's the devil. But the judge raised a firm hand and said, enough. The devil did not force you to speak. You planned evil, and you would have succeeded if not for one honest man. Tears streaming, Vanessa begged, Please, I'm sorry. The judge's eyes were cold and unyielding. For jealousy, for pride, for wickedness, you shall face the law. Vanessa was sentenced to 15 years in prison, no bail. Justice was served. Back at the mansion, Bernard told Mary everything. She was shocked, but relief softened her voice. That could have been the end of us, she whispered. Bernard held her close. But it's not. Because good people still exist. People like Sko. People like you. That weekend, they traveled to Mary's village. Bernard knelt before her parents, eyes full of respect. I want to marry your daughter. And from today, I want you to leave the village. Come live in the city. I have a house ready for you. You've worked too hard, it's time to rest. Mary's mother wept tears of joy. Her father blessed Bernard warmly. 1 month later, Bernard and Mary were married in a beautiful, joyful ceremony filled with laughter and hope. Their honeymoon was quiet and sweet. Hand in hand, they walked barefoot along the beach, the waves kissing their feet. I still can't believe this is real, Mary whispered. Bernard smiled softly. It's real, and it's forever. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take from this powerful story? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales that inspire and uplift. Stay blessed, and thank you for watching. Give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.